Okay, I'm gonna keep going on the blue here, and I may play with this project as well, um, with some of the blues. We'll see how it goes. But one thing about these is that it is kind of tempting to sometimes try to adjust something before you've really sort of gotten down the entire range that you're thinking of. And sometimes that makes sense, but it is mostly a good idea to get everything in here so you really have an idea of, you know, how dark this is, which is going to tell us more about how light this is, and how so sometimes it's good to make sure that you have the entire range sort of represented, at least before you start making really specific choices about, you know, stepwise, does it seem real even. So let's see, I'm mixing up some creamy peacock blue, a little bit of strong it's in frame here, a little bit of strong Quinn rose, which has given me kind of that violety blue kind of thing, and then a little bit more indigo, because this is going to be my fifth square that I'm going to be thinking of as sort of mostly black. It's really quite thick. I'm not sure how well that is even going to lay down. We'll find out. Nice. And dark. So you can see it is a little bit different than having that really watery kind of, I hope that's showing up decently on camera. The lighting in my glasses is making it not kind of hard to see right now, but still going with a light touch and trying to not brush into the stuff that's already there. I'm going to set that aside and see how it's going to dry, and I'm going to look at the Receding Hills project that we've been working on a little bit. I did basically what this study is for these. There's probably an extra step, well, a few steps in there. Around here I started adding a little bit of Quinn rose, but not much, and then here a little bit more of the Quinn rose to the peacock blue, and then here's where I started adding in quite a bit of indigo as well. I'm sort of wondering about adjusting some things here, and I'm going to clean off that brush. One of the things about making really clean layers and letting them dry in between is that they do leave a relatively hard edge, which is often something I very much enjoy. Sometimes it's nice to soften up edges a little bit, and I think I'm going to try something here that may freak you out. so, so try not to be freaked out. No, what I'm going to try here is I'm going to try a little something where I am kind of going to do a light layer. This is kind of a tricky thing. This is clear water I'm putting on. I'm going to try to layer on some clear water. I may try to go down this whole shape. This is going to take a really light touch and going back with plenty of water, and it's like we're sort of painting with water. This may come up with some streaks in it, and I may think to myself, maybe that wasn't the best decision. But I'm sort of wondering what would happen, and I encourage you guys to do that as well and think to yourselves, I wonder what if. So that's mostly just water, and I wanted to already have this, but I don't. I'm going to bring in just sort of some overall really watery peacock blue. I hope it's pretty watery. I'm going to dab it in here. It's still wet enough there that it's going to, some of the color is going to come off. And controlling just how soft edges are in watercolor is something that is a lot harder to do than it is in oils and acrylics. And that's frustrating, I know, at times. It's still kind of frustrating for me at times. And I've been trying and practicing and figuring things out for a long time. But doing what I just did is going to help. It's going to be subtle, but it's going to I might even try to scrub a little bit there. Just loosen up a little bit of that hard edged color. With aerial perspective, the further something is away, the less defined it's going to be. And sort of the more fuzzy, and all the less contrast, and it's when all the haziness is going to come through. Right now I'm just pushing up a little. This is a whole nother thing that I could probably explain a little bit more. So it is fun to try to make each shape a little bit more individualized. I tried to lift away just enough here to make it so there's a little bit of value change between this layer and this layer closer to the line right here. I also had a thought of this is like the first layer that I did way back when. And I don't know if you remember, but I remember sort of asking myself, was that too dark? And then saying, maybe. I'll deal with that later though. So it's later. I'm just trying to scrub that a little bit. Maybe lift out some color, make that edge a little bit softer. The peacock blue is mostly a phthalo blue color, so it's still going to be staining and it's not going to want to let go. And let's see. Just kind of scrub and just kind of, it needs a little variety. A little more variety than it has. And that's something that I may do more of in individual layers where I have a little bit more control. But doing that whole layer over this whole thing, over everything except the bottom two here, was to try to push that back even a little bit more, to make it fuzzier and appear that much more in the background. So I think I'm going to leave that like that for now. And the last thing I'm going to do on this particular video is see if I can come in and that's nice and dark. See if I can come in and do one last dark red, brownish red on the top row. Trying to kind of get to this, so you can see there's still a decent amount of room to go, and I may get to that on this example, or I may not. But let's see, some nice creamy Quin rose, some nice creamy Quin burnt orange, and even a little bit more of the indigo. And at first, if you've never sort of mixed dark colors, and it can be a little scary to bring in indigo to that kind of clean looking color mixture, but that's sort of the whole point, is that we're trying to, maybe you can hear, I don't know if you can hear cello in the background. My son is practicing. It's very cool. I'm sitting sort of at an awkward position, I will say right now, for this video. So that my technique may look a little odd to you, or where I'm sitting, or whatever, but that's still going to be the basic idea. This is probably a good example of, I forget which one it was, over here, or where it was, I do forget, when I just kind of felt like I wanted to squeeze in a slather of paint across the whole shape, just because how it was coming about was not working. And sometimes this is nice, as a rule, sometimes this can help with when you are mixing sort of thicker layers that aren't really wanting to flow very much. Oop. It is tricky though to know when I'm going to be using my brush too much as a sponge. So if you can see in the video in this shape, I do have, I did squeeze out, well, it's a sponge. I don't want it to be a sponge. Thick color over the whole thing, and it could have sort of stayed that way. I moved it around, and then I did hold it in a way that there would be some area that wasn't getting a whole thick layer, too thick of a layer of color, because that can sort of kill it dead. I'll discuss these later. Yellow's kind of tricky, and I need some clean water to do it, but a fun little challenge. Okay.